Discipline is not something you wake up with one morning. It is something you build brick by brick, decision by decision. Most people wait for motivation to appear, but motivation is fleeting. Discipline is what carries you through the days when motivation is gone. If you want to create a life of meaning, if you want to achieve goals that seem impossible right now, you must force yourself to be disciplined. Because discipline is not a gift, it is a practice. Today, I want to share with you 6 key principles that will help you force yourself into discipline until it becomes second nature. Discipline does not begin with the dramatic changes we dream about, nor with the massive goals we often set at the beginning of the year. It begins with something far smaller, something almost invisible. It begins with the smallest actions. The actions that seem too insignificant to matter, yet they are the very foundation upon which true discipline is built. Think about it. Discipline is not about running a marathon tomorrow. It's about lacing up your shoes today and stepping outside for a 10-minute walk. It's not about writing an entire book in one sitting. It's about writing a single page, even when you don't feel like it. Most people fail to understand this. They aim too high too quickly, and when the weight of that massive goal crushes them, they give up. But discipline doesn't demand a giant leap on day one. It demands that you wake up at the time you promised yourself, that you finish the workout even when your body begs you to stop, that you resist the temptation to scroll your phone when you should be working. These tiny choices, these small victories, are what create the disciplined life you long for. Let me give you an example. Imagine a person who decides to do just 10 push-ups a day. That doesn't sound impressive, does it? 10 push-ups will not transform the body in a week, and it won't feel like an accomplishment worth celebrating. But now step back and look at the bigger picture. After 1 year, that person has done 3,650 push-ups. That's not small anymore. That's extraordinary. That's the power of consistent discipline. The small actions, repeated daily, compound into something remarkable. It works the same way with saving money. Putting aside just a small amount each day or each week may feel meaningless at first, but over time it grows into a substantial reserve that provides security and freedom. The principle is always the same. It is not the size of the action that matters in the beginning, it is the consistency of it. And this is where most people fail. They dismiss the small actions because they look insignificant. But they forget that giants are built from grains of sand stacked together, one on top of the other. The truth is, if you cannot control the small things in your life, you will never be able to control the big things. If you cannot keep the promise of waking up when you said you would, how will you keep the promise of building a business, writing a book, or transforming your body? If you cannot push yourself to do 10 push-ups, how will you push yourself to run 10 miles? Discipline is trained, and it is trained through the small wins. And here's something deeper to understand. Each small win builds trust in yourself. Every time you do what you said you would do, no matter how tiny it seems, you send a message to your mind. I am someone who keeps my word. And when you repeatedly prove that to yourself, you begin to see yourself differently. Your self-image changes. You stop seeing yourself as someone who breaks promises and start seeing yourself as someone reliable, someone strong, someone disciplined. This inner identity shift is the real treasure hidden inside small wins. So the next time you think that a single choice doesn't matter, remember the math of 10 push-ups. Remember that each small decision is a brick, and brick by brick, a fortress of discipline is built. The power is not in the size of the action, the power is in its consistency. And when you start to honor the small wins, you will discover that discipline is no longer something you chase. It becomes something you live. So many people tell themselves, I'll start when I feel ready. They say, when I'm motivated, when I have the energy, when the timing feels right, then I'll begin. But here's the truth. That day rarely comes. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for the perfect weather before you step outside. You may wait forever because perfect conditions do not exist. Life is unpredictable, your emotions shift, and your energy rises and falls. If you depend on feeling inspired to act, you will spend most of your life waiting and very little of it moving forward. Winners know this. They know that motivation is unreliable. That's why they don't depend on it. They act whether they feel like it or not. Think about Olympic athletes who wake up before dawn, who drag themselves to the track, the pool, or the gym at 5 in the morning. Do you think they always feel ready? Do you think they leap out of bed every day with excitement? No. Many mornings they are tired, sore, or mentally drained, but they show up because discipline demands it. Their goals are greater than their feelings. Their dreams are louder than their excuses. Success doesn't care about your feelings. Success does not ask if you are motivated today. Success only responds to consistency, to action, to persistence. Discipline is about showing up regardless of how you feel. And when you learn to separate your actions from your emotions, you unlock a strength most people never discover. Because the truth is, your feelings are fleeting, but your commitments should not be. Think about how often emotions change within a single day. One moment you feel excited, the next moment you feel exhausted. One moment you want to work hard, the next you want to rest. If you let every emotion dictate your actions, your life will be as unstable as the wind. But when you choose discipline over mood, suddenly you are no longer at the mercy of your emotions. You are in control of them. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone who only works out when they feel motivated. In January, they feel inspired, so they go to the gym 5 times a week. But by February, that motivation has faded, and suddenly they're back on the couch. Compare that with someone who decides that regardless of how they feel, they will exercise 3 days a week. Rain or shine, tired or energized, motivated or not, they show up. A year later, who do you think is stronger, healthier, more disciplined? The answer is obvious. The one who acted on discipline, not emotion. The same applies to every area of life: studying, building a business, improving your skills. If you only move when you feel like it, you will never go far. But if you move because you decided you must, you will keep building brick by brick, even when no motivation is present. And in time, people will look at your results and call you lucky without realizing that luck was nothing more than discipline repeated daily. This is why you must make a decision today. You will not wait for motivation. You will not keep telling yourself, "Tomorrow I'll be ready." You will not allow feelings to control your destiny. Instead, you will act because discipline requires it. You will act because the life you dream of demands it. You will act because every step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to the person you want to become. Motivation is a spark, but discipline is the fire that burns through the darkest nights. If you learn to move without needing the spark, you will never be powerless again. The choice is simple: keep waiting for motivation, or decide right now that your actions are no longer negotiable. And when you make that choice, when you remove the excuse of motivation, you will discover that nothing can stop you. Discipline thrives in structure. Without structure, your energy is scattered, your focus is weak, and your time slips away unnoticed. If your life feels chaotic and unorganized, it will be nearly impossible to build lasting discipline. That's why you must design routines that work for you, routines that automate discipline and turn consistency into something natural instead of something you have to fight for every single day. Think about it. The people who achieve extraordinary things are not more talented than everyone else. They are not always smarter or luckier. The secret is that they build systems that keep them aligned with their goals. They don't leave their day to chance. They don't wake up and wonder, "What should I do today?" They already know. Their routines give them a roadmap. And when you have a clear roadmap, You no longer waste energy deciding, you simply act. For instance, setting a fixed time to wake up and a fixed time to sleep may seem like a small adjustment, but it brings stability to your day. Scheduling your workouts instead of leaving them to chance ensures they actually happen. Deciding in advance when you will study, read, or work on your goals eliminates the trap of procrastination. When you know exactly what to do and when to do it, there's less mental resistance. You remove the space for debate, and you replace it with certainty. Research from Duke University shows that around 40% of our daily actions are habits, not conscious decisions. That means nearly half of your life is running on autopilot. Think about how powerful that is. If half your life is built from habits, then your routines are shaping your future whether you realize it or not. The question is, are they leading you toward your goals, or are they pulling you away from them? Imagine two different mornings. In one, you wake up whenever you feel like it, check your phone, scroll through social media, and waste the first hour of your day. In the other, you wake up at the same time every morning, drink water, exercise, read something meaningful, and begin your work with focus. At the end of one day, the difference might not seem dramatic, but after a year, the gap is enormous. One path leads to wasted time, regret, and frustration. The other leads to growth, strength, and confidence. That's the power of routine. And here's the beautiful part. Once a routine is established, it no longer feels like effort. At first, it may be uncomfortable. Waking up early, shutting off distractions, sticking to a schedule, all of it takes willpower in the beginning. But as the days pass, your brain begins to accept it as normal. What once felt like discipline becomes automatic. What once felt like a struggle becomes second nature. This is why structure is not your enemy. It is your freedom. It frees you from constantly battling yourself. Think of your life as a garden. Without order, weeds grow everywhere. They choke the plants and steal the nutrients. But when you set boundaries, when you water regularly, when you follow a routine, the garden flourishes. Your life is the same. Chaos invites weakness, but structure invites growth. So do not underestimate the power of a simple routine. Build mornings that energize you. Build evenings that restore you. Create structure in your work, in your rest, in your learning, and in your relationships. These routines will become the silent framework of your success. You will no longer depend on motivation or luck because your days themselves will carry you forward. When your routines align with your goals, discipline is no longer something you force. It becomes something you live, and that is where transformation begins. One of the strongest markers of discipline is the ability to resist short-term pleasure for the sake of long-term reward. It is easy to choose what feels good in the moment. It is easy to say yes to comfort, yes to distraction, yes to indulgence. But the easy choice rarely builds the life you want. The easy choice often steals from your future. Discipline requires that you see beyond the moment. It demands that you sacrifice the instant pleasure in exchange for something far greater that is waiting down the road. There is a famous study often referred to as the Stanford Marshmallow Experiment. In it, young children were placed in a room and given a simple choice. They could eat one marshmallow immediately, or they could wait, and if they waited long enough, they would be rewarded with two. It seems simple, even childish, but the results were profound. The children who were able to wait, who were able to delay gratification, grew up to have higher academic success, better health, and even stronger financial stability. That tiny act of patience revealed a pattern. Those who can say no to immediate desire often gain far more in the long run. And this truth extends far beyond marshmallows. It applies to every decision you make. Every time you choose to spend money on something unnecessary instead of saving, you trade away your future stability for a fleeting feeling. Every time you choose to scroll on your phone instead of working on your goals, you sacrifice growth for distraction. Every time you choose comfort over effort, you rob yourself of progress. The hardest truth to accept is this: your future is shaped by the choices you make in the smallest of moments. And often, those moments come down to whether you can delay gratification. Think about an athlete in training. While others are going out to parties, indulging in food and sleeping in, the disciplined athlete wakes early, eats clean, and pushes through the grind. To outsiders, it looks like sacrifice. To the athlete, it is an investment. Months or years later, when that athlete stands on the podium, no one sees the countless temptations they turned down. But those sacrifices are the reason for their victory. Or consider the difference between two students. One studies a little bit each day, even when they would rather watch television. The other constantly procrastinates, choosing entertainment over effort. At first, the difference isn't visible. But come exam day, the gap between them is undeniable. One is prepared, the other is not. The one who delayed gratification built a future of confidence. The one who could not resist distraction built a future of regret. Delaying gratification does not mean denying yourself forever. It means being wise enough to say no today so you can say yes tomorrow. It means refusing to let momentary impulses destroy lifelong rewards. There is a deep power in looking at a temptation and reminding yourself, this is not worth my future. That single thought can save you from decisions that would otherwise cost years of your life. What makes this so difficult is that short-term pleasures feel so real, so urgent. They whisper to you, telling you that you deserve them, that one small indulgence won't matter. But one small indulgence repeated daily becomes a habit, and a habit shapes your life. The truth is, discipline is not about never enjoying life. It is about choosing when and how to enjoy it. It is about enjoying the rewards that come after the effort, instead of seeking the reward first and paying the price later. If you want success, health, financial freedom, or strong relationships, you must learn to wait. You must learn to invest your time, your energy, and your focus into what pays you back tomorrow, not what only satisfies you today. Because every time you delay gratification, you strengthen your self-control, you increase your capacity for growth, and you build the kind of future most people only dream of. Discipline is contagious. The people you spend the most time with will shape you in ways you cannot always see. Their habits, their attitudes, their standards, all of it seeps into your own life little by little. If you surround yourself with people who are lazy, unfocused, and careless with their time, it is almost impossible not to absorb some of those same patterns. But when you place yourself in the presence of driven, disciplined, and focused individuals, you will naturally rise to their standard. You won't even need to force it. The energy of their discipline will pull you upward. Think about athletes who train in elite teams. Not every member wakes up every day feeling strong. There are mornings when even the most talented athlete feels tired, discouraged, or tempted to quit. But when they step into that training environment and see their teammates pushing through the pain, when they feel the energy of a group committed to excellence, their own weakness fades. They are carried by the discipline of the people around them. This is the power of environment. It shapes you even when your own strength falters. The same applies to your life. If you are surrounded by people who constantly complain, who make excuses, who settle for mediocrity, it will affect you. You might think you are strong enough to resist it, but human beings are wired to adapt to their surroundings. Sooner or later, their low standards will become your normal. But if you spend your days with people who hold themselves to a higher standard, who refuse to give up, who value discipline over comfort, their energy becomes your energy. Their drive becomes your drive. Their habits become the mirror you see yourself in. There's an old saying, "Show me your friends and I'll show you your future." It may sound simple, but it's true. Look at the 5 people you spend the most time with, and you'll see a reflection of yourself. If they are disciplined, hard-working, and growth-minded, you will naturally lean in that direction. If they are careless, distracted, and unmotivated, you will drift toward that path. Your environment is either strengthening your discipline or breaking it down, and every day you are making that choice, whether you realize it or not. Think about a student who studies in a library surrounded by others working quietly. Even if they walked in distracted, the focused atmosphere pulls them into concentration. Now imagine that same student trying to study in a room full of friends, joking, scrolling on their phones, or wasting time. The environment makes discipline 10 times harder. The work itself hasn't changed, but the surroundings have. That is how powerful your circle is. Even in the world of business, you see this pattern. A person working alone may give up when challenges come, but someone surrounded by ambitious, disciplined entrepreneurs sees failure not as the end, but as a step forward, because everyone around them treats it that way. Their perspective shifts. They are held to a higher standard, not through force, but through example. And sometimes, surrounding yourself with disciplined people also means making hard choices. It means distancing yourself from those who drain your energy or pull you away from your goals. That doesn't mean you stop caring about them, but it does mean you stop letting them shape your future. You must choose wisely, because the people closest to you will either water your discipline or poison it. When you walk with people who demand excellence from themselves, they will demand it from you too, and that is not pressure, it is a gift. It pushes you to grow in ways you could never achieve alone. The truth is, no matter how strong your willpower is, your environment will always win in the long run. So choose an environment that aligns with the life you want to build. Because discipline is not built in isolation. Discipline is built in the company of those who live it. No one is coming to save you. No one will force you to stay disciplined. You can have teachers, mentors, or even friends who inspire you, but at the end of the day, discipline is a promise you keep with yourself. It is the quiet agreement between who you are right now and who you want to become, and the strength of that agreement is determined by your ability to hold yourself accountable. Most people fail not because they lack goals, but because they lack accountability. They set intentions, but when life gets hard, they allow excuses to replace action. They blame circumstances, they blame time, they blame others, but rarely do they look inward and say, "I didn't keep my word." That's the difference between the disciplined and the undisciplined. The disciplined person doesn't avoid responsibility, they embrace it. They understand that when they fall short, it is their job to rise again, not with excuses, but with solutions. Holding yourself accountable means you stop treating your goals as wishes and start treating them as contracts. Think about a contract in the real world. If you fail to meet your obligations, you pay a price. Why should your own goals be any different? When you tell yourself you will wake up at 6 but sleep until 9, there should be a cost. When you promise yourself you will exercise but choose comfort instead, there should be a consequence. Because without consequences, words lose their power and your promises to yourself become meaningless. One of the most powerful tools for accountability is tracking your progress. Write down your goals, review them daily, and measure your actions against them. Don't let your goals live in your mind where they can be reshaped and softened by excuses. Put them on paper, make them real, and face them every day. A written goal stares back at you. It reminds you of what you said you would do. It refuses to let you hide. Journaling is another powerful way to build this self-accountability. Each night, sit with yourself and ask one simple question. Did I keep my word to myself today? It's not about judgment, it's about truth. If the answer is yes, you strengthen your trust in yourself. If the answer is no, you expose the gap between your intentions and your actions, and in that awareness lies the chance to improve. Over time, this nightly reflection builds a bond of trust between you and yourself that cannot be broken. You begin to see yourself as reliable, as someone who follows through. And once you believe that about yourself, discipline becomes unshakable. Think of the people you admire most, the ones who achieve greatness, who stand out in their fields. They don't always have someone watching over them. They don't need constant reminders. They don't need external pressure. They move forward because they hold themselves to a higher standard. They understand that their future is in their hands, and they refuse to let themselves down. That's the art of self-accountability, knowing that even when no one is watching, your actions matter. There will be days when no one encourages you, when no one checks in on you, when no one claps for you. On those days, your accountability to yourself is the only thing that keeps you moving. That's why it is so powerful. It means you are no longer dependent on outside forces to stay disciplined. You become your own coach, your own motivator, your own guide. And that independence is what makes discipline last a lifetime. So do not wait for someone else to hold you responsible. Do not hope that others will push you to stay consistent. Build that accountability within yourself. Track your progress, review your goals, and reflect on your actions. Demand honesty from yourself. Because when you master the art of self-accountability, you no longer just chase discipline, you embody it. And from that place, there is nothing you cannot achieve. Discipline is not glamorous. It is not easy. But it is the foundation of every great achievement in history. If you want to transform your life, if you want success, strength, and peace of mind, you must force yourself to be disciplined. Start with small wins. Stop waiting for motivation. Build clear routines. Delay gratification. Surround yourself with disciplined people and hold yourself accountable. Do this, and one day, discipline will no longer feel forced. It will be who you are, and that day you will realize you have become unstoppable.